Okay. Hello, everybody. This is Greg Griffin, Pastor Greg Griffin. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be at in the world. My name's Greg, and I'm an addict. Just want to let everybody know this is about the third week. I am going to be coming at you guys live every Wednesday evening at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And I hope to give little talks about different facets of recovery. Last week, I shared a little bit about relapse prevention, a little bit about the emotional and the physical cues that can leave us feeling vulnerable or at a risk of relapse. So tonight, what I would like to do, guys, is I would like to share some coping strategies with you, where I can go over some ideas, some thoughts, some proven methods of things that you can use, maybe go-to moves, if you will, or a tool in your tool belt, if you will, on how you can handle triggers as they come to get you out of that frame of mind. Okay, before doing so, folks, I would like to share my story with you a little bit. If you haven't heard my story, back in mid-February on the Magical Road to Recovery, my brother, David Griffin, and his lovely wife, Leslie, interviewed me. And I think it's an hour and 30 minutes, hour and 29 minutes, but it should be somewhere there on my brother's Facebook page. You can find it. So anyways, my name's Greg, and I'm an addict, as I said. I first started using drugs and alcohol. I guess I first started using marijuana. So I wasn't even really considering myself using drugs and alcohol at the time I tried it. It was the summer between my junior year and my senior year in high school. And it just really, really put things off and running for me in my life. And, the misery that my drug addiction took my family and friends and people that care about me today in my life. Anyway, so I smoked some weed in the summer going into my senior year of high school. I was a track athlete and a wrestler. I started competing in sports at an early age. As our middle brother, my brother David, and my middle brother was maybe about almost 2 years older than me, 1 year and 10 months. And I wanted to beat his butt in anything I possibly could. So it really set the tone for me at an early age as far as training and the different sports. Actually, I followed in the sports that my brother did, wrestling and running. And anyway, so what happened I was having a conversation with my brother and David, and I was talking to him, and he was asking me some questions. And he asked me kind of what set that ball off as far as, the comparison or the thinking that the adrenaline or that euphoric feeling that I would get when I would run a personal best time, or I would win a wrestling tournament and I was on the top step there and having the medal and the little olive branch have you put on my head. Once I finished high school, that stuff was off the table for me. And so I think drugs started filling that void for myself. So it started with marijuana. After high school, then I started dabbling in other stuff. I mean, you're around some people that, have marijuana and pills and stuff like that. You open the door to a whole different subset of friends and to just new environments. So I started with doing a little bit of speed. I did a little bit of meth. I snorted a little bit of coke. Really, really liked it a lot. I liked the way that it made me feel. Too much, obviously, as the story goes on. And along with my drug use, there started becoming legal issues. So it started out, you get in trouble, you get put on probation for a year, then got into a little bit more trouble, and 6 months in the county jail and a year in the county jail. So anyways, the ante started going up as I got older and I started using more and more. I ended up going to Nevada in 1984, the state of Nevada, and I ended up over a weekend writing a series of checks that weren't my checkbook. It wasn't my checkbook. They weren't my checks, but I wrote a series of checks over a drunken 2-day weekend. There are 8 checks to be exact. And what ended up happening, what I did was I was a clever addict, or so I thought. I wrote a check because I couldn't cash me the cashier's cage we'd already kind of burned that thing out. So the genius that I am, I wrote a check to check into a suite at Caesar's Palace for 4 nights, wrote the check, $200 a night, $800 for 4 nights. That evening, I'd go down at 3 in the morning. I have an emergency in my family. Hopefully, I'm not like cluing people in how to be a better criminal, because that is not my intent. So we check out and I get the $600 cash back. So anyways, as it had it, of course, I was drinking, gambling, and before I know it, the gig was up. Security surrounded me, arrested me. I went to Minden County Jail right outside of Lake Tahoe, and I did not know the seriousness or how much trouble I was in at the time. So anyways, once all the smoke cleared and I had these 8 checks, I met with the public defender and all that, and I had an arraignment of my court date and stuff. And the public defender said, well, Greg, he says, they're offering to see if you'll plead guilty to 1 check. The thing is in the state of Nevada, each check that I wrote over that weekend, each check carried 1 to 10 years in the state penitentiary in Nevada. I pleaded guilty to 1 check and they ended up getting 5 years in the penitentiary. And that is really kind of the beginning of my criminal life there. You go in today's world. I work right now. I work in the drug and alcohol field. I have for the last 21 years. I'll get into that a little bit in a minute. But as time goes on, and you go to prison and you start hanging out with different people. You learn. As far as our justice system goes, in my opinion, there's just so much money being spent. Prisons are big business. Prisons are in business and they're big business. They make more money having you locked up there than the county would be spending or the state would be spending on you to go to drug treatment program, which is what should really actually be happening. So anyways, did that prison time, came back to California. I went into a drug program, stayed there 6 months. My brother David helped me get in from prison. Stayed there 6 months. I thought that I had a grip on things, but I didn't. So anyways, I got out of the program, had to go back and report to Nevada from the parole that I had. And when I went up there, never reported, and things just really got off and running. Living in Las Vegas, I loved it. I loved the action. I liked the excitement. Like I said earlier, I'm an adrenaline guy. And so everything, it was just perfect for me. So after a year and a half up in Nevada, a friend of mine who was a heroin addict, didn't really know too much about heroin or heroin addicts at the time, was introduced to heroin. And when I tried it for the first time, I could take it or leave it. It made me itchy. I remember it made me really itchy. And I threw up a lot too. And for some reason, I guess I liked the high or the feeling that the itchiness and the throwing up didn't bother me so much. Anyways, I dabbled with that for a couple months. And then before I know it, I was hanging out with my buddy that was the heroin addict and was with him for a period of about a week. And it didn't take me but a week before I got a heroin habit, which was the beginning of really my downward spiral in my life. While I was addicted to heroin, being a heroin addict is hard work. Where I work at today in a substance abuse program that I've worked in for 21 years, I have clients that come in and, heroin is still a pretty popular. Oxycontins, we call them oxys or roxycodones. Heroin are still a really, really rampant drug of choice around here. And the sad thing about it is I don't know if folks are aware or not or have been following what's been going on with opiates and heroin in the world. But now they are actually taking the heroin and they're cutting it with bits of fentanyl in it to make it stronger, to get people hooked. And what's happening is a lot of folks are overdosing and dying behind it. Before I looked into this, when I heard about the fentanyl, I was thinking, well, doesn't the fentanyl cost more or than heroin does? So come to find out, I looked into it a little bit, and what happened is the cartels down in Mexico, one of the head of the cartels hired this chemist to train a couple of cartel buddies that was into a little bit of that kind of stuff, how to cook up and make fentanyl. So they trained these guys how to cook up and make fentanyl. And so what they were doing was that's how they had access to the fentanyl that they started cutting the heroin with. So anyways, that's what's going on now. But anyways, I was talking about being a heroin addict is hard work. Let me explain what I mean by that in my story. I was addicted to heroin from 1991 up to my birthday, which is March 7th, 1997, is the day I was hospitalized at the end of my heroin use. But from 1991 to 1997, I went to county jail for 30 days once. And then I got busted for some paraphernalia in Las Vegas, went to jail for 14 days. So between that 30 and 14 days, first, it was really crazy because I had to kick. I had to, I was dope sick, kick. I had to kick in county jail. It takes 3 or 4 days. You're really sick to your stomach, crawled in the fetal position, just, throwing up, diarrhea, it's not a good thing. So anyways, after I was in county jail for 30 days, first thing I would do is I go look up the dope man, I cop heroin, and boom, I'd be off and running again. So before with the exception of the 30 days and the 14 days, it's a total of 44 days in my life, in my heroin addiction, 6 years minus 44 days, I shot dope every single day, several times a day. Being a heroin addict, I would never go to bed at night unless I had I call it my wake up. What it really was, I also call it getting well. Because when you wake up in the morning after sleeping in the night, you wake up dope sick. And the only thing that's going to get you better is some heroin. And so anyways, besides those 44 days, I shot dope every day, several times a day. Didn't take care of any health, obviously. I'm talking a minute about my hospitalization and what my health was like and what it was like for me in my life back then. Anyway, so I tell the opiate addicts and heroin addicts that are currently in the program that I work in, I would tell them, if you could put in half of the amount of energy and focus on your recovery right now, 50%, you're going to make it. You go a long ways. Because being a heroin addict, it was just, as I said, every day, several times a day. So it was really, really hard. You really, really had to work hard at being a junkie, as funny as that might sound. So anyways, I went into the hospital in 1997. I want to give you guys a little bit of a backstory tonight. Told my story a couple months ago. I told you, already directed you to where it could go, but I was just talking to my brother earlier. And, this might be your very, very first time meeting me, my very first time meeting you. Hope this becomes a relationship to where you can tune in every Wednesday night, 6 p.m. Pacific time. And hopefully I can give you a little bit of hope. I told my brother David and his lovely wife, Leslie, last Thanksgiving, they were over our house. My mom passed away almost a year ago. A couple more days, it'll be a year ago. And they were talking about, about the church and about, there's people out there that do need some help, and need some hope as far as, getting clean and sober and all that. And when they asked me to do it, it just really, really got my juices flowing. My brother was telling me, Greg, we have clients, we have people that are members in our church and stuff from all around the world, and I just thought it was a really, really cool thing. And so that's why I'm here talking to you right now, sharing my story with you. So anyways, I went into the hospital. I remember I had really bad pain in my chest. I thought it was my heart. Didn't go to the hospital for several days because I didn't want to go there and be dope sick. Not really realizing at the time with the medical condition I had, they were going to stabilize me. And they put me on methadone is what I was on when I was hospitalized. Anyways, I was in the hospital for 2 months. My left lung was full of fluid. And during just the antibiotics and stuff they gave me in the hospital, didn't totally get rid of it. So they had to go in and they had to do surgery on me. They went in, they drained my lung. They had to go in. I remember I was reading the medical paperwork a few months back. I still have all the medical paperwork that I had. And it was describing the surgery. We had to go in and there was a fibrous peel on the inner lining of my lung that had trapped on the inside of my lung a cottage cheesy-like substance. I mean, isn't that enough to make you sick? So anyways, I went through that. surgery, and thank God, I have a family that loves me, mom and dad, that loved me and cared about me, that made the transition from when I was hospitalized to being able to have a bridge to where I could go back home here to California and get better. And so anyways, that's what I ended up doing is I ended up flying home. They had to wait a couple of days to fly me home after my surgery because of the surgery that I had in my lungs and the pressurized, thing about it in an airplane that, there's a certain amount of pressure and there's certain conditions that you can't fly under. And so anyways, went to the hospital, left the hospital. My mom and dad had paid for a plane ticket for me to fly from the hospital in Las Vegas to the airport in Oakland. And so they bought me not a round trip, one-way ticket. I didn't know that my brother was going to be there waiting for me at the airport, but he was when I got there. My brother was there. And they wheeled me in a wheelchair and got on the plane and I flew home. When I got home, when I was released from the hospital, guys, I weighed 124 pounds. Was lucky to be alive then, and I thank God, and I thank my family and thank my parents for, giving me another chance to be able to, get my life together. Anyways, once I got home, my mom strategically placed this flyer that came in the mail maybe a couple of months after I got home. It said "Celebrate Recovery" on it. So she set it on the table there and sat for, a month and a half, 2 months. And then now it's September. This is November 4th. I still remember vividly the date of it. And so towards the end of October, I told my mom, I said, Mom, I said, I see that flyer there. I would like to go, check that out. I just needed something outside of myself, something I could find hope in, something that I could find peace in, here I was, this, 37-year-old, unemployed, 124 pounds, trying to get my strength and my weight back and to get healthy again. And all this time that I'm back home, I'm thinking I'm coming back home to get my strength back, get back on my feet so I can go back up to Las Vegas again and hang out, start shooting dope again. Can you imagine that? 124 pounds. So anyways, thank God that, my mom put that there and that she came with me originally to go to Celebrate Recovery. And, it was a wonderful thing. When Mom came for the first time with me, she was going to support me in getting my help. And little did she know she was going to get her own help too. They had groups. Obviously, I was in the chemical dependency group. They had a sex addiction group. They had a codependency group, which my mom went to the codependency group. And so anyways, we did that. And so I started getting better. I started building my faith in God, and started finding a purpose in life. So, it was a wonder. It was a good decision to do that. And as I got better, and as my mom, she started making friends at the church, and, I met a lot of friends at the church, and, it's a really, really, it was a really, really positive thing. In a minute, when I share tonight, guys, when I share a little bit about, relapse prevention and coping strategies and stuff, I'm going to go into some coping strategies. There's a lot of talk like call a friend or call your sponsors in 12-step meetings. I'm going to go into a little more detail of that when I talk about 12-step meetings and I talk about 12-step involvement and fellowship. I'll touch on that because early on, whenever I started going to this Celebrate Recovery, I remember really very, very well the gentleman that ran Celebrate Recovery. He was a Celebrate Recovery pastor, and his name was John Nielsen. And he took me under his wing. He heard my story. He saw me during my transition. I was far from well when I started going. I mean, heck, I'd only been home 5 months when I started going. And so anyways, thank God that he put him in my life. And he told me early on, he shared with me, he says, what, Greg? He says, it's really not that difficult, Greg. He says, you need to change playgrounds and playmates. And, that really resonated with me. I need to change playgrounds and playmates, it made sense. No more hanging out, guys, with the old friends it's going to pull you down, right? Any of the old friends that you have in your phone still, you need to delete them, get rid of them. They're not going to do anything but bring you down. So anyways, it was a great message for me. And so after I was home, a year and a half, 2 years, and I wasn't going to go back to Las Vegas and start shooting dope again. Go figure that, right? I had to decide what I wanted to do with my life, what I wanted to do for a living. I was only 38, 39 years old at this time. So thank God, once again, mom and dad, helped me out, paid my way to school so I can get a career. And in 2000, I was certified as a drug and alcohol counselor. Started an internship in 1999 at the program that I currently work in. I've now worked there for 21 years. So God's been good to me in that respect. Okay, guys. So that's a little bit about my story. Well, but before I end my story for tonight, I just want to share because this has really, really, really been on my heart a lot lately. In 9 more days, my mom, who I've just talked to you about going to celebrate recovery with, and we shared a lot through that program, and it opened her eyes, to codependency and stuff, and it really opened my eyes too, to just to a lot of things, and 9 days. She died May 29th of last year. And now my dad, my father, he's, we didn't know if he would make it a year, and here 9 more days, it'll be a year that he's made it. My mom and dad celebrated. My mom and dad's wedding anniversary is May 10th. And before my mom died, 19 days before my mom died last year, my mom and dad, she was in the hospital, but my dad was there. They got to celebrate their 65th wedding anniversary then, with each other. So that was nice. But anyways, my mom was really sick, and her 1-year anniversary of passing away is coming up. And I just really, really remember my mom's last month on Earth here. She got rushed to the hospital in an ambulance. This was probably 3 weeks, maybe 3 weeks before she passed, early May. Me and my sister had to call an ambulance, and they came and picked her up at home and brought her to the hospital. And while she was in the ambulance, she had a heart attack. And when she was being wheeled into emergency, my sister was in the ambulance with my mom. And she had 2 more heart attacks. And the doctor told my sister at that point in time, he said, if there's family or friends, you need to notify him now, because, mom was on her way out. Come to find out, my mom was a battler. She battled through a lot of stuff her last year in life. But anyway, she came back to about 2 days after these heart attacks. And I got to tell mom then at that point in time, I said, Mom, I said, I got to really experience what it felt like to lose you, because we thought that we had lost you. And I told her, I says, from this day forward, Mom, you are now my bonus mom. And so what that meant to me was I got to love on her. I got to love on her hard. I remember her last, since that happened 2 or 3 weeks before she died, my mom loved massage. And, I'm not a massage therapist by trade or anything, but I give a pretty mean massage. You could ask my sister that, she would say yes. But I was at the hospital every night, and I'd give my mom a shoulder and neck massage and upper back massage, And one night I missed my little girl, my not so little girl anymore, Lindsay. She graduated, I don't know, maybe a week or two before my mom passed. And so I didn't end up going to the hospital that night. My sister was sure to remind me that next morning, Mom was wondering where you're at, because she wanted her massage. And so it was touching. Anyways, guys, that's my little bit of my story. Okay, so now I want to go into, let me see here. Now I want to go into relapse prevention. We're talking about relapse prevention. Last week I shared some triggers and stuff with you about what a trigger is and coping strategies. Let me give you a definition of a couple definitions of a relapse. A relapse is the act or instance of backsliding, worsening, or subsiding, or a reoccurrence of symptoms of a disease after a period of improvement. So basically, guys, it's like cancer, drug and alcohol use, we have found through time studies and stuff, is a brain disease. So it's not unlike asthma. It's not unlike cancer. It's not unlike diabetes. It is a relapsable disease. So sometimes, does everybody relapse? No. Matter of fact, statistically, between 50 and 60 people, 50, 60% of folks that get into recovery, decide they don't want to use drugs and alcohol anymore, and go down that path of not using it again, 50 to 60 people experience relapse. Just a little statistic for you. Okay, so of relapse triggers, there's both emotional and physical triggers. So for emotional, let me just use this acronym for you. It's easy. If any of you know anything about recovery or AA, you'll recognize it's called HALT, HALT. It stands for don't ever get too hungry, don't ever get too angry, don't ever get too lonely, and don't ever get too tired. Okay, so I'm going to take each of those, just quick, brief thing about it. Don't get too hungry. So what does that mean? What that means is that when we're in our addiction, obviously, most of us, like 90% of us, I would venture to say, don't give a crap about our nutrition or about eating even. Go figure, right? How do you think I got down to 124 pounds? There wasn't much eating going on here. I used to tell my friend that I was with, I would get up in the morning, I'd drink a 40, and then maybe I'd drink another 40 in the evening. And I say, well, it says on the bottle here, 40 ounces, 890 calories or something. That's just how my sick mind was over that. So anyways, what it's basically saying is we need to start paying attention to nutrition while we're in recovery. Don't ever get too angry. Now, this one right here, anger is probably the most biggest trigger and reason for relapse. Angry is just, it's just, there could be healthy anger, and then there could be inappropriate anger. And what that is, healthy anger is learning how to walk through it and work with that. They come in various forms. You could either see a therapist, one-on-one therapist life, and be able to process some of that stuff. There is also, what I do is I refer, there's a lot of, there are a lot of websites and stuff, practice deep breathing techniques, learning stress reduction, learn how to be able to self-calm yourself when you're in a situation like that. Don't ever get too lonely. Loneliness is a really big thing in recovery. And let me tell you why. In early recovery, basically, like I said, my spiritual sponsor, John, told me, Greg, you got to change playgrounds and playmates. That really, really resonated with me. So what did that mean? All the using friends that I used to have, that I used to use with and hang out with, they're no more. At least they should be no more. So now you've broken off those relationships with those folks. So anyways, and then on the other side of that coin, you have your friends that you had before you started using drugs and alcohol. And you have family too that you had during the time you were using and not during the time that you're using. And so you think you're going to go back to your friends before your addiction, but only to come and find out that they're not ready to take you back right now. Just because I decided to get clean and sober doesn't mean the world is going to change and adapt to my needs. I hurt a lot of people in my addiction. I really hurt my mom and my dad while I was in my addiction. And I just thank God right now that I was able to make peace with my mom and love on my mom really hard before she passed. And if I haven't mentioned, my dad's on hospice right now, and me and my sister both care for my dad. And, I tell my supervisor at work, she always asks me, how's dad doing? And I'm just loving him up. I'm just going to love on my dad. My dad was not a very emotional guy. Maybe anger was his emotion, or being through or tired with things. His mode of babysitting us when we were little kids, especially me, I remember very well. Mom would leave. Dad would be in there. As soon as I made a peep or do anything, to your room. And so I used to have to go to my room. That was my dad's way of dealing with us. But anyways, he wasn't a really emotional guy. And so, he's softening up a little bit now, but I make sure every night, and sometimes I don't get a response from him, but every single night before he goes to bed, I like to call it tucking him in bed, even though I don't literally tuck my dad in bed. But I always say, I love you, Dad. Is there anything I can do for you? I love you. And this, and I told my supervisor and my sister too. Like I said, me and my sister care for my dad, and, guys, love on your parents. Love on your family. We get this COVID-19 thing going around, and it's not discriminating. We don't know how long we're going to be around, folks. We just don't. So love on your friends. Okay, let me get back to relapse prevention. So I was on lonely. Now let me go to the very last one. Don't get too tired. We no longer have any of the, I remember whenever I first got clean as an opiate addict, there were so many restless nights, so many nights that I got very, very little sleep. You try to take hot baths, you try to listen to music, soft music. We can no longer take the chemical sleep aids that we used to take. No more drinking ourselves to sleep, passing out. There's no more nodding myself to sleep with opiates. There's no more taking Xanax or Valium, because those are off the table now that you're in recovery. But if I could suggest, guys, something, we have melatonin, natural homeopathic medication. We have valerian. We have chamomile tea. So there's lots of stuff, guys. Go in there and Google the sleep, that you need to sleep. But can you take this natural? Google is your friend. Google's wonderful. So anyways, that's what I would suggest as far as that goes. As far as a trigger of not being able to go to sleep, to be able to, find some relief in that and just, check it out. Now I want to go to some physical triggers that we experience. And you know what, guys? It's really crazy because I'm going to share a little bit as I'm going through these physical triggers, a little bit about my own personal experience, and how, maybe just a blurb here or there about what it was like for me, if it's helpful that way. So music, okay, certain kinds of music comes on the radio, and, and it reminds you of, when you were drinking or using, or reminds you of a relationship you were in that was unhealthy. You turn the radio off or turn the channel. Also, guys, there's the smells. I remember when I first came home, just smells. Like, you sometimes you'll go someplace and you'll smell baking, something that reminds you of grandma's baking when you were a kid. So anyway, smells. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, and so we have a thing called BART, Bay Area Rapid Transit. And I go to Oakland. I'm a sports fan, so I go to Oakland A's games, Oakland Raiders games now, Las Vegas Raiders now, San Francisco Giants games, and we have a thing called BART. And so when I first got clean and came home and I started going to those games, anytime I would go into a BART bathroom, it would remind me of snorting cocaine, because that's what I used to do when I was in my addiction. I used to go in there, lock the door. There's only one person in there at a time, only one door, only one lock. And the only way somebody could get in there is if it was a station agent that, if you were in there for a half an hour. So you weren't going to get interrupted. But that smell of that bathroom made me go back and think about snorting cocaine again. Money is a big one. When I got clean, the place that I work at right now, the substance abuse program that I work at right now, it used to be a little bit more longer term, and people would go get jobs and work, and they would turn their paychecks in, pay off some of the money they owed the program or paid their rent or whatever it was. And they learned to be able to live on a budget, of $60 or $70 a week. And they learned to do that, and they learned to be able to, set money aside. But anyways, money is a really big one. Having a paycheck that's $900 and cashing out $900 cash in your pocket is a huge trigger, guys. So what I did early on is I relinquished my control of my paychecks over to my father. Maybe you have to maybe you have to relinquish it to your wife or your brother, whoever you have in your life that you trust with your money. Okay, guys. Some people say, "Oh, hell, I'm 50 years old and I work 40 hours, and I shouldn't have to turn my money over to anybody, right?" Well, you can go with that if you want and have that $900 in your pocket and see how you make it through the weekend. So, anyways, where I'm going with this is it's real. First of all, as far as recovery goes, and as an aspect of recovery and a trait that I would love to give somebody in recovery would be the trait of being humble, okay? To be teachable, to humility. If you saw any of my talks in this, humility is not thinking less of yourself. Humility is thinking of yourself less often. So yeah, guys, sometimes, suck it up and be humble. It's okay to be humble. People like humble. Some people like humble. Some people feed off of somebody that's humble. But being humble is a good place to be, guys, in early recovery. Obviously, our way didn't work, guys. Our way didn't work. Let's be open and try something different. Okay, then how about this? Go into the grocery store, especially for us alcoholics out there, right? You know, Jesus Christ, when you go there and they have this section, it's usually off in the corner, and they usually have the big things, big bottles of, you know, tequila and all the top shelf liquor they have it stacked up, right? So nowadays they have it in the front of the liquor store in cases and stuff so people don't rip it off. But anyways, it's like, how do you think that feels to an alcoholic? How do you think it would feel? Crack cocaine on aisle 3, you know, methamphetamine, aisle 5. You know, every time that an alcoholic goes to the grocery store, especially new in recovery, it can be a tough thing. So what do? You know, bring a friend. You know, bring somebody, bring a sponsor, bring a friend that's supportive of your recovery. You know, talk about those feelings after they come up and process those feelings after they come up. Okay, exits on a freeway. Exits on a freeway. So what does that mean? Okay, you're driving down the road. You're driving down the road. There's an exit on a freeway that you're used to getting off on, that the connection lives a few blocks away, where you have to go cop. So anyways, you're driving down the freeway, and this exit has this gravitational pull towards you, to where, you know, should I, shouldn't I? What do? One, you can take a different route home, even if it's 5 or 10 miles further. You can do that. If it's really, really a strong urge, call a friend or call your sponsor 5 minutes before you get to that freeway exit, and talk your way through it. One last physical trigger is, and this was really, really a trip, because I experienced this. And when I experienced it, I experienced almost 3 years into my recovery. And God, I was surprised how strong of a pull it was on my heart and my mind. And in 1999, I told you I just went to school and stuff and get certified for my drug and alcohol, you know, certification. And I had to go up. It was a Saturday morning at 8 a.m. So what I did is I drove to Sacramento. It's about a 2-hour drive from where I live, and got a motel room for the night, so I get a good night's sleep, wake up, be able to go get a jog in the morning, be clear-headed to get my coffee, bam, go over to take my test. Checking into the motel room, guys, getting my key at the front desk. I started feeling it then. And then when I got to that room and I opened the door to that motel room and I walked in, it brought it all back for me. First time in a motel for me since I was shooting heroin. So as soon as I walked in the room, it reminded me of closing the curtains, pulling out the spoon, putting the dope on the spoon, putting water on it, cooking it, pulling it up and slamming it. And I had to walk through that, you know, You know, my supervisor that I work with, we both studied and took the test together. So she had her own room now. And so after we checked in and stuff, when we went out and had dinner, I told her what's going on for me, and that it was really, really strong. I mean, I didn't feel like I was in danger of going and looking for drugs and getting drugs and doing that, but it was just really that strong pull that it had on me, guys. So these are real. These physical and emotional triggers are real. So now what do we do with them? Okay, let me go over some coping strategies. So what we do, I do an exercise in one of the relapse prevention groups that I do, where I work, where I give these index cards where on one side I have people write their triggers, and on the other side I have them write their coping strategies. And then after they do that, I have them do it in color. Then I take those little index cards and I take them home, all 25 of them, how many people are in my group, right? And I laminate them. I laminate them, I trim them, I make them look nice and pretty. That's why I tell the clients when they're doing it, I give them colored pencils, colored pens, tell them to make them look pretty, you know, put this in, you know, put some thought into this, because this could be a really, really good tool for you. It's something I used early on in recovery. Use pictures of my little girl. My little girl was born in my not so little girl now, was born in 2001. She's 18. She just graduated last year. I think I shared that with you. And, you know, keep these with you, keep them in your pocket. You know, it's funny. I'll run into somebody a year ago that was in treatment a year and a half ago, and they say, Greg, I saw that little card, you know, and it touches my heart, you know. So anyways, coping strategies, okay, call a friend or call a sponsor. If you feel like using, call a friend or call a sponsor. You're going to hear sponsor, and you're going to hear 12 steps, 12-step go to a meeting. You're going to hear this throughout these coping strategies. It's a common theme. And then I'm going to break it down a little bit and tell you why it's a common theme, okay? Go to a meeting is another one. Go to an AA or NA meeting. You're feeling triggered that day, go to a meeting, talk about it, raise your hand, talk about it. Having a hard day, feeling triggered, take a walk, take a hike. Take a hike. We have really, really beautiful trails here up here in Northern California. Take a hike, take a dog for a walk, take the cat for a walk. Try that one, right? Take the cat for the walk. I have to chase our cat. We had a cat that was a wild cat that my sister brought back from way up in Northern California, who was really, really a wild cat. Anyways, take a walk, walk the dog, get out, breathe in some fresh air. Very good. Go to the gym. Exercise. First of all, exercise is just, it's fantastic. It's a fantastic thing if you can gravitate towards it in recovery, because it's such a stress reducer. It's such a, I do my best thinking. I do my best thinking on either a run or on the treadmill or the elliptical at the gym. It's just as a way for me to clear my head, for me to think, try to work things out in my mind, any decisions I have to make. Go to the gym. Can't stress after the COVID-19 stuff's over with, by the way, that's the last damn thing I'm going to do in COVID-19 is go to a damn gym. I'm surprised they're even thinking about opening these gyms up with this. I don't want to get political now, so I'm going to pass on that. Normal circumstances, go to the gym. Can't do it enough. A little story about something that happened to me in early recovery. And this goes back to John Nielsen, my spiritual sponsor that I met in Celebrate Recovery. I experienced my very first death of a friend in 2002. And it's a little bit of story too. It's a little celebrity involved in the story. My dear friend, Frank Ward, died of a heart attack at 46 years old when I was working at the program that I'm currently working at now. And out of the blue. And I went to the movies with my dear mom that day. That was, 2002. We went and saw a boxing movie. Go figure when I go in the story here. Frank Ward was Andre Ward's father. Andre Ward was the gold medalist in the Athens Olympics in 2004 and undefeated middleweight, super middleweight, and light heavyweight champion of the world. Frank was his dad. And Andre was 18 years old at the time that happened. And Frank's goal for Andre was to always go to the Olympics. He said, son, the trainer wanted Andre to go pro because Andre had an undefeated amateur career, several years in a row, Golden Gloves champion. And so Frank would tell his son, I want you to go to the Olympic Games, win a gold medal. You can call your own shot and pave your own path. So anyways, Frank died. Andre's 18 years old. Andre stopped fighting. Andre backed off his faith of God. Andre started drinking. Andre started hanging out with the wrong crowd. So this happens for a few months. Another athlete's named Napoleon Kaufman. He used to be a running back for the Oakland Raiders. He left pro football to become a pastor. He's a pastor here in the Bay Area. Napoleon Kaufman, Pastor Kaufman, got a hold of Andre, sat Andre down and talked to Andre. And he said, son, I'm just worried that if you don't play this out and you don't give it your all to see if you can recognize the dreams that you shared with your father before your father died, I don't know if you'd ever be able to handle that if you don't do it. Storyline is Andre started training again. Andre made the Olympic team and Andre won a gold medal and so on and so forth. Frank's death, I get called that afternoon that Frank died. My friend Frank died 46 years old. Of course, that's a shocking thing at that age. I didn't know what to do, guys. I didn't know. This was the first death I experienced clean and sober. Normal people would want to go probably drink or whatever. I mean, those were off the table for me. I didn't even cross my mind. I called my spiritual sponsor, John Nielsen. My friend just died. I need to see you. He had a couple of appointments. I could see you at 3:30, Greg. This is like 1:30, right? So I booked down to the gym. I had a membership gym. I go down to the gym. I get on a treadmill and I just start running. And I had my eyes closed. I was listening to music. Tears were just coming down. And a gal that I went at the time, I feel a tap on my shoulder, and there she is looking at me, and the tears just going, But you know what, guys? I learned how to take care of myself. I learned how to take care of myself then. It was a good thing. Okay, so last one for coping strategy I think I would like to say is, what do you do? What do you do for like weddings, birthday parties, different events that happen when you're in recovery, right? A lot of drinking is around for a lot of those things, and people aren't going to change their lives. A lot of people can handle, having drinks on the weekend, or there's a lot of normies out there, but we can't do it. Going into it, take a friend or take your sponsor, number one. If you feel shaky, bring support with you there. It's actually admirable nowadays to have people, having somebody that, drinking a Perrier or a bottle of Crystal Geyser or a Diet Coke or whatever to get through that event, to be able to make you feel comfortable. It makes you feel more comfortable. Or, have a plan that you can leave. Give yourself permission to leave, guys. If you feel a tug and you feel uncomfortable about something, this is your life. You've worked hard on your recovery. You've looked at these things. You looked at relapse prevention. You went through a treatment program, or you live, a really strong 12-step program. You're a sponsee, or you're sponsoring people now, whatever the case may be. It's okay to give yourself permission to leave if you feel uncomfortable. Okay, guys. So also, I just want to also share with you as far, we talked about anger, and we talked about different feelings, and we've talked about stress. These things are products of life. We all got cell phones. We live in a very fast communication world where people can get hold of us. We're pulled this way, we're pulled that way. As far as exercising and stuff, because there's also Google is your friend. There is a couple places that I know of that mindful.org. There's a couple different places, Google mindfulness, breathing techniques, different places. They're free, guys. Go in there and learn, breathing techniques. I went to mindful.org today, and right when you go in there, they have a little button. It's a 5-minute relaxation meditation button, and you sit down, get yourself grounded, relax, and hit the button, and it will walk you through 5 minutes of just stress reduction, meditation. It's really good. Okay, I told you. Wrapping up the end of the night. I want to talk a little bit about 12-step meetings and about sponsors and what that means, and why do I mention it so much. Like I told you, my spiritual sponsor says, Greg, you got to change playgrounds and playmates. You know what, guys and gals, that's easier said than done. Making a whole new support network. And when the 12-step programs of NA and AA are a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle program. It is a replacement of friends and acquaintances, or wherever a relationship brings you. You go to a meeting. What I recommend first for anybody that's new in recovery, that's just finishing treatment, or hasn't been to treatment, or wants to stop using, and doesn't have to go to treatment to stop using, but could stop using with the fellowship of AA and NA. If I could give you one trait, one quality, if I could give you one tool, one resource for your recovery tool belt, I would give you the gift of AA and NA. Why is that? You meet people, you start community building, guys. You get a sponsor. How do you get a sponsor? You go to a meeting, you raise your hand, say, I'm brand new. I'm new at this, and I need a sponsor. And somebody will come up to you after the meeting and talk to you. Or sometimes they have sponsorship meetings where the meeting will start out, and the secretary will say, it's a sponsorship meeting, and they'll have the people that are in recovery raise their hands that are able to sponsor. Men for men, women for women will raise their hands on who they get sponsored, and you go up and you talk to them afterward. Why is it important? First of all, the first couple of weeks of early recovery, it's a lot of emotions. You need somebody to maybe call and talk to help you get through these tough times. A good sponsor will take you and put you under their wing, and they will introduce you around to all their friends. look for somebody that's got a couple, 2, 3, 4, 5 years of recovery under the belt. Somebody that's currently working the steps themselves that can explain the steps to you. I'll have another talk here down the road on the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous or Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'll break them down for you in a way that that you can relate to, or direct you in a place that you can learn more about those steps. They'll put you under the ring. They'll introduce you around to the people they know. Now you're building a network. What I really recommend is the beauty about NA and AA is after a meeting, there's lots of stuff that happens outside of the meeting. There's lots of stuff that happens outside of actually working the 12 steps. Fellowship is wonderful for them where you're making these new connections. You go out for dessert after AA is 1 hour, NA is an hour and a half. Go to an NA meeting, starts at 7:30, you're done by 9. People go out and have dessert around the corner at the coffee shop afterwards. You're sitting at a table with these guys. You see this one guy over here. This one guy has been, he owns his own glass company. This guy over here works at Starbucks. This person over here is a lawyer. Addiction does not discriminate, guys and gals. It doesn't discriminate. We come from all walks of life. And you sit there and you ask the guy, you ask the guy that works at Starbucks that's got 7 years clean, what was it like your first couple of weeks in recovery? How was it? Did you sleep? How did you sleep? How did you work? What did you do on your step 4? Do you remember how to kind of give me some suggestions about doing step 4? And so you get to pick these guys' brains and stuff, guys, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing. Also to mention that they have in 12-step meetings and stuff, they have clean and sober softball leagues. They have clean and sober dances. They have bowling leagues. They have all kinds of fun stuff, guys. So anyways, I would love for you to try going to a 12-step meeting, and I would love for you to share it with me down the road at another talk that I give. You can write stuff in the comments. I would really appreciate it. There's a comment here in the comments section. I'm going to read it real quick. This is wonderful. I love that. I really, really appreciate that. It's sent by unknown, but I really, really appreciate that comment. Okay, guys. I guess I will end tonight's meeting now. Thank you so much. If you stayed and you've listened to this, if you've listened to my talk tonight at all, I really, really, truly, I really hope that it was helpful for you. Like I said, I will be here Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific time, guys, every week. Okay. I would love to see you come back, and take care until next week, guys. God bless.